Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And welcome back, everybody. We appreciate you listening today. If you're not listening live, this is still relevant, what we're going to talk about here. And it really involves all of us when it comes to urban planning and transportation. Truly affects all of us. There is a book out that's getting a lot of attention, and it talks basically about the negative effects of urban highways in the U.S. We're going to talk about that book's impact and lots more with our next guest, including your feedback, instant feedback, steve@gmail.com. If you have any thing that you want to throw to our man of the year, he is an urban and regional planner. Many years he spent doing that, University of Pittsburgh. And he's got urban planning on his radar pretty much 24/7. He's always looking. He is Richard Golden Bickel Jr., and he's back on the program. How are you doing today?
Very good, Steve. How are you?
Very well. It's good to have you back here, especially day after Thanksgiving. I appreciate you taking the time to join us. And this book that literally came out not even a week ago is an author talking about the negative effects of urban highways in the U.S., and it focuses on neglect, displacement, gridlock, consequences of completing projects. Some of them was only a map, a plan that segregated a lot of people. Have you heard about this book?
Yes, I have. I can't remember where, but I think it was probably the New York Times.
You know, it's getting a lot of attention, and it talks about an area in West Baltimore and how they transformed an entire neighborhood just by the roadway that went through, and how the neighborhood was basically held hostage for decades with changing highway plans before the project was eventually canceled many years ago. It didn't even take place, but during the stages of that, the entire area was upended. It's amazing how even just talk of that can get that done and change the dynamics of a neighborhood. Tell us about that. Your thoughts on that?
Well, the key issue is where the highway starts, where it's going to end, and what area it traverses. And in this case, if it was a minority neighborhood, they're going to be impacted severely, and that does cause displacement and disruption of their usual pattern. And we had a similar experience in Philadelphia with a expressway through the Chinatown neighborhood and the called the Vine Street Expressway, which is operating pretty effectively today, but it does create a barrier between one side of the town and the other, and that's got to be resolved by negotiation. And minority neighborhoods have a little more power than they used to have. They have some laws on their side, and they have a right to know what's happening and where it's going to go and how it's going to affect them.
Well, we've talked about this before briefly, but it goes back to, not in, how do you put it? Not in my backyard.
NIMBY.
NIMBY, thank you. It almost sounds like that's a case here because people were basically freaking out about this expressway that was imagined with state help and some federal money. It didn't even happen. It got canceled. And we're going back decades. This ended, the project was actually canceled in 1981. But the point here is it was decades in the making, and it segregated so many people just by the talk of what was actually going to happen with the ramps and everything. All of that was involved here. Even the federal gas tax was too low to continue building at the pace of the 1950s, 60s, and into the 70s. Did you deal with situations where people for lack of a better description, freaked out when they heard that some changes could be coming to their neighborhood?
Well, on a small scale, one of the first planning studies I was involved in was the Rahway Avenue, R-A-H-W-A-Y, Rahway Avenue feasibility study, which involved a minority neighborhood in a local township in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. And the highway was, some people wanted to connect the highway to the surrounding road network. Right now, or at the time, it was a dead-end road with side streets that were very small that had houses on it. And the people heard about the plan to complete the highway through their neighborhood, and they were very upset. And I was assigned by the county planning commission as that one of my communities would be East Norriton Township, and this neighborhood is in East Norriton Township. So I started going to some meetings there to find out what the issues were. And you would think that most people would say, oh, I'm on a stub-in street, doesn't go anywhere, I'd like to be connected. But their attitude was, if that highway is built and connected to the surrounding neighborhood, it's going to cause through traffic to go through as shortcuts, and it's going to be detrimental to our existence here.
First thing comes to mind is a number of years ago, how New Jersey changed a lot of things where, if I remember correctly, you couldn't make a right-hand turn. I haven't been to Jersey in a while, but that's all that people ever talked about once those changes were instituted.
I think it was, it might have been a left-hand turn.
Might have been a left-hand.
They built these roundabouts that enabled you to shift to one side of the road to another without making a turn. You would get on this roundabout and then go up to the next highway, or else you would continue around the roundabout to the place you were trying to get to originally.
It became a thing, and it was actually viewed upon as a negative. Like, gotta go to New Jersey, can't make a left-hand turn. I'll be honest with you, when I was probably going back about 15 or so years, I was going through New Jersey. I had minimum anxiety there, thinking like, all right, I got to plan this out where I'm going to go. And even where I live on Long Island, there's one major intersection, and they instituted the jug hand turn where you had to go around and back over again. That was a big deal. Like, oh my gosh, look what they're changing up here. And I know, most of this is for the better, but I guess the point here is that people aren't comfortable with change, even talking about the change, as in this Baltimore neighborhood here.
Right. And it produces delay and a lot of turmoil, and also can lead to the end of a project. On the other hand, someone like Robert Moses confronted that all the time, and he just went ahead and he had the power and the political support to build some of these highways right through neighborhoods.
How does this, and by the way, the book ends on a positive note, talks about a future light rail project, I think it was called the Red Line, which, after some more drama, it's in the planning phase, and it's supposed to reconnect the neighborhood and also breathe new life into that area of Baltimore. It's actually for real. It wasn't, just something that people talked about or a map, but that's if funding comes through. Did you find, or is this the way it sometimes works, where a project is proposed and they're looking to get feedback from all involved, whether it's politicians, planners, residents, to see whether the funding will be put into it? Or is it just decided, all right, we're going to get funding for this and we're going to move forward with it? How does that typically work?
Well, the starting point is population and employment, growth and development in the area, and whether there is sufficient demand to warrant a new highway or a light rail line or something like that. And that's when the plans are sometimes developed, and the plans are often developed in the past without consulting the neighborhood. It was more like, how do we get from A to B? And we don't really want to go to C because that'll cost us more money. And then they would go to a public meeting and unveil these plans, and people would have this not in my backyard reaction and stifle the whole project.
Mm. Coming from somebody that's involved in the planning, was that frustrating for you, where you knew deep down inside, this is what this community needs? I've done the research, I've seen it, but people aren't buying into it, or the majority of residents are just, no, I don't want this. I don't want this in my backyard. Was that frustrating for you?
Well, it can be frustrating. As a county planner, I wasn't the one doing the grand highway plans, but I did work at the Regional Planning Commission in Philadelphia called the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission, and they were part of the process of implementing projects because their board, which included 9 counties, 4 in New Jersey and 5 in Pennsylvania, they voted on the funding for these projects through what is called the Transportation Improvement Program, and they would work with the 2 state DOTs, Pennsylvania and New Jersey, Departments of Transportation, and they would work with with the counties, and the city of Philadelphia, of course, was a key player, and they would decide on a long-range plan, which when I was there was the year 2010. Now they're up to around 2050, and the plan has all of the projects that have support from the board members and their counties and local areas to implement in the future to improve the transportation network. And also, there's much more concern nowadays for the side impacts of a project. So they analyze the neighborhoods and the landscape that the proposed highway or transit project will go through, and that adds to the number of people who have a say in the outcome.
Well, you know what? I want to pivot now for a sec, because we have an email that came following the last time we got together, which a little while ago. And it's great to have you back here, Richard. I got Josh in San Diego who reached out, instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com. He says, my son is in high school and looking at careers. He's fascinated at the way towns and cities come together. He's in 11th grade. How can he get a better feel for your urban planning career?
Well, the one way is to look at studies or plans or talk to local planners in the area and find out what their career is like and whether that's really something you want to do. I started out in pre-med at the University of Pittsburgh thinking I was going to be a doctor, and then I took chemistry and I knew I wasn't going to be a doctor. So I decided to shop around for a new career, and I took an urban geography course as a junior, and I thought that was a fascinating field, and it so happened to be taught by one of the professors at the planning school at Pitt, and I stayed there after graduation and went to the graduate school and got my planning degree, and that's just how things happen sometimes.
Oh, I totally get it. When I was younger, this is before high school, I was still in elementary school, I wanted to be a cartoonist. And in my 20s, I got almost syndicated. No, I'm seriously. It's like,
that's great.
I came very close to being a syndicated cartoonist at age 21, 22, but I had already been doing radio at that time, and I got a job at the big station where I stayed for almost 30 years. But you never know where your path is going to take you. Now, looking at Josh's email about his son and getting a better feel for the urban planning career, does it make sense to even go to your town and look for, the Department of Urban Planning or some similar department and just even ask, hey, you know what? My son's interested. Can he come down and maybe just have a conversation or get a view of maybe what a day looks like in the life of? If somebody came to you back in the day and said that, would you be okay with them just, kind of observing, an 11th grader?
Well, sure. The planning departments often hire interns, but usually they're looking for planning students who are already in college or graduate school. In addition, if they want basic information, the American Planning Association, which is the professional organization for planners, has a monthly magazine, and they have articles on what's happening around the country in planning, and very interesting articles about new techniques and things like that. They have an annual conference, and they have student rates for the magazine, and it's a way to learn about what's going on at the same time as you're considering whether to pursue that as an education.
What did it for you? I want to look at this through the eyes of let's say, an 11th grader or anybody looking for a career path or change. What the proverbial bug? Where did it bite you? Where are you like, you know what?
Well,
I like this.
By taking that urban geography course, I learned about the goal of working with people, because I was also a sociology major, working with people, talking to them about what they want, and the physical part of it, of the geography, of knowing how to develop some of these projects through communities, around communities, and what issues are affecting the development of that project, especially population and employment.
When you first began, Richard, was it a bit uncomfortable knowing that what you're doing is shaping somebody's future? This is what these decisions that are being made changes a lot for a lot of people. It's a big responsibility.
Well, when you're a entry-level planner at a county planning agency, you're pretty far down the chain of command, and what I was fortunate is having very good directors who were leading the agency, or agencies that I worked at, and also the support of their elected officials. Planners cannot usually have the luxury of designing a project and implementing it without a lot of support. And the key support is, if you're in a governmental agency, is to have the support of the elected officials that you're working with. And my director at Montgomery County was very close to the county commissioners, 3 county commissioners, and was able to accomplish things by talking to them behind the scenes and also representing the county at the Regional Planning Commission Board, because the elected officials didn't have time to go down there, and they were happy to have him represent the county. And when he, after I'd been there for about 10 years, I started going to some of the meetings on behalf of the county as an alternate. And that was a real education to be at the board meetings and see how the discussions and the decisions were made.
I never even thought of that. What a great idea. Even for Josh and anybody else, Josh's son, go to those meetings and just sit, be the fly on the wall. hear what's going on there. I remember when I needed to change the setbacks on a shed as I wanted to sell a house. I went to the meeting and I had to stand up and explain, yes, I'd like to make a change to my property. It was an interesting process, even just watching some of the other people go up there, whether it was commercial or residential, zoning changes and things like that. I think that's a great idea. I never even thought of that, Richard.
Yeah, it's an education where you don't have to pay any fee. You just sit in the audience and absorb it and find out who the people are and what they do and how they do it. And that's invaluable as a starting point.
Absolutely. And there's even so many areas have public access channels for TV where you don't even have to show up sometimes. You can see it,
right,
in real time on there. I have a friend's father who forever watches all of those. He is the most informed person. He'll be the one to say, hey, you realize that they're putting up a new Shake Shack on Highway 32? Like, really? How do you know that? I was just watching it on TV where they were, looking for zoning changes and such.
Those things were not as much available in 1971 when I started.
Yep. Yeah. So that's why I think this is a beautiful opportunity. And I thank you for bringing that up. I totally forgot about it.
I would recommend that he search American Planning Association and learn about the organization and their publications. I think that's also a way to get very well informed.
Any final thoughts on somebody that's looking for that career in urban planning? I guess it depends on what stage you're in, age, and all of that. But anything that you want to share?
Well, you can learn a lot from publications. You can learn a lot from an internship if you're a little older, and you can learn from attending meetings and seeing how things happen. It's better than just walking in a door and having no experience at all. You'd be lost.
Yeah. And plus, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was fortunate to have even a 2-week internship at a consulting firm in New York City before I went back to school, and that gave me a perspective on what they do as an architecture and planning firm and how they interact within the city of Philadelphia, city of New York, which is a totally different scale of what I ended up working at.
Yep. But at least you got a view of that, and also the feeling of, what these changes will do to the public and feedback and all of that. If anybody's got a question for Richard, you can always reach us, instant feedback, steve@gmail.com. We welcome anything, whether it's career related or even transportation projects or planning projects that you've heard of, or maybe you've got something going on in your city and want some feedback from a professional like Richard. We welcome it. Richard, thanks for being here today again. Always great having you on, and all the best. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way, and looking forward to catching up again soon.
Very good. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. We'll be right back. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn those earrings today. I like those earrings. Gabby has those awesome earrings. I need to ask her where she got those, but that's just what she would want me to do. I'll have Michaela ask her for me.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Yeah, but then Michaela will be like, why don't you just ask her yourself? That's just like Michaela.
Sarah, buckle up.
Michaela's such a great name. I wish I was called Michaela. There's like a dozen Sarahs in my class.
Hey, we're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I forget sometimes because my brain is busy, I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
Sometimes it can be tough to get through to your kids, but it's not impossible. Always make sure they're wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Remember, you have the keys, you have the power. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.